Thank you for watching, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist. With E3 news finally coming to an end, it's time to get back to completing games here on the show. In fact, this week's game is actually one I've had done maybe about 3 weeks ago. I wanted to save it for the week of E3, but then I realized that I wouldn't have had time to release it because of my insane work schedule and blah 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 blah. So, back in January of this year, with the big press announcement of the Nintendo Switch, we got a few new titles brought to the forefront. Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, and a new IP called ARMS. Well, in case you didn't know, ARMS came out the Friday of E3. So, as a disclaimer, similarly to that of the Splatoon review I did, this review is only going to be focused on the single-player campaign aspect of the game, because while the online play was available, there were not enough users online during the review embargo to reflect that of completion. And this game was given to me by Nintendo, hashtag free product, but as always with these games, I was simply just given the game, so my views are mine and mine alone. With that said, let's give this game the good old completionist treatment. Let's begin.
Yes! Right.
Preview event for the Nintendo Switch back in January, one game that secretly got me excited for the Switch was this game right here. ARMS from Far Away looks like Wii Sports came back with just the boxing portion. And at first, that really bothered me. But after I played it for a few hours, I think I was talking to Pro Jared about it, we both came to the conclusion that the game had a lot more depth than we thought. Honestly, if this was a launch title for the console, I think it would have been a much better hit than 1-2 Switch. But we got Zelda, so we're still good. ARMS is all about a tournament that's taking place in this original universe. Initially, the idea was to incorporate Nintendo characters into the game, but as the game went further into development, they decided to focus on original characters instead. So for all of you who are dying for Little Mac to be in this game, look, I'm 100% with you on that. But the reason why they were having a hard time with bridging the gap from Nintendo characters into ARMS is because of the name itself. Every character has super crazy coily arms. Imagine if Mario had these arms. It would look weird. But to be fair, Capcom on the other hand, they've got that on lockdown. Looking at the scope of ARMS, like Splatoon, I'm looking at the loaded barrel of unlockables across the board. I'm going to have to play this game a lot, and that's not even including the online play. At first glance, there's a lot of different modes that are unlocked from the start, but the bread and butter appears to be stemming from the Grand Prix and online play modes. There's 10 characters from the go, each with their own set of unlockables. And with the different modes, you'll know that I'll have to beat the game inside and out. I'm so hyped about playing ARMS that I went out and made my own character. His name is Taco Dave. He comes from the land of Tarjay. He is red, he costs $20, and he looks good in these armed little arms that I got from E3. Let's go Taco Dave. His special is the Taco Tuesday special, where it's $1 taco, street tacos. You can do like street tacos of any kind. You got your Taco del Carbones, and your shrimps, and your steaks, and your chickens, and horchata if you're lucky. Taco Dave.
Taco Dave.
In this unknown time within a brand new universe, ARMS is the large fighting invitational competition which features competitors from all over the globe that, for some weird reason, have super long and extendable arms. The game doesn't really explain the purpose or lore of these characters, but according to the ARMS Nintendo Direct, they explained that the fighters who all have these long arms don't recall how or why they acquired them. They don't even remember the process of receiving their new abilities. Yet all of these characters are superstars of this universe. Ninjara is a Japanese student studying the ways of the ninja, Kid Cobra is a live streamer gone fighter, and Springman is famous for loving pizza.
Yes, friends, the new Turbo Ginsu! Woohoo! It dices, it slices, and yet makes French fries in 3 different... Whoops!
all of the characters in ARMS have one simple goal: to show the world why they are the best by winning the Grand Prix tournament. From a narrative standpoint, the biggest disappointment about ARMS is the lack of background for each character. Yeah, it's a fighter, and aside from the 2 to 3 sentence introduction in the Grand Prix mode, we ultimately learn nothing about these characters. The reason why this bums me out is because the character designs are so freaking cool. Twintel boxes with her hair. All of Min Min's aesthetics are based on her ramen shop she famously owns and operates. And Helix is a weird blob character based on DNA strands. Each and every character design in ARMS is incredible, but they all lack a centralized purpose for the tournament other than being the best. Now, this may seem cliche here, but revenge or redemption are great motivators for fighting Tekken, and becoming the best at your craft is another Street Fighter, maybe even incorporating the need to fight because these characters are invading each other's world, Smash Brothers, but fighters do have motivation other than becoming number one. I know these types of games aren't necessarily supposed to have a plot, but I personally feel that all of the homework has been done here. All they had to do was turn it in and get an easy A. I am aware that story isn't a make or break deal for everyone, but we have to look at everything. The graphical vibes of this game is one that I really enjoy. The graphics are super clean, running at a locked 60 FPS. Even at 60 FPS split screen, it's locked. The character designs are all over the place. No one seems borrowed or ripped from any other game, which is very important for an original IP. All of this is great groundwork for getting a really solid brand new game off the ground. Reach for the stars and dream big. And from what I've seen thus far, ARMS really reaches for it. Oh, come on, Raptors, come on, I'm not taking it back. I don't care, it was a good pun, especially for this game. I think my favorite thing to come from ARMS is the music. The music was composed by previous Nintendo alumni who've been working for years on the most recent Nintendo franchises. All of the characters and stages have their own soundtrack, and they all stand out so well that you could totally get down on these tracks while you're driving around. Mash that with the UI for the menus and it just blends everything together quite nicely. And this kind of dabbles in my original point for the narrative. The soundtracks are killer, the look and feel of every character is methodically planned and executed very well. Everything just fits like a puzzle perfectly, except there's not really a story here. It's like having all of the pieces of a puzzle line up exactly as you want. You've got one last piece left, and you know it'll fit based on the size and shape. And you try mashing it in there, and it's just not fitting in there. You go in your home, you know you want to go there, you fit perfectly. I hate you, puzzle piece. ARMS is a boxing game. All right, start the reward, I'm out. All right. At least that's what it looks like on the outside. Just a boxing game. But what we have here is a much more in-depth fighter than most would imagine. Complete with a variety of different game modes, there's a lot of content here to be enjoyed. But does the core gameplay carry the game to the success of what would be another great Nintendo title? A basic round of ARMS is as such. You battle another player in a back and forth fight to drain each other's life bar, punching and grabbing with your arms. You can move left, right, forward, back, and can jump and dodge accordingly. You've got a special yellow meter that will build up based on you delivering and receiving attacks. With a stored special attack, you can surprise your opponents by unleashing all of what you've got in a limited fashion. And when they use it on you, whoof! Be prepared to dodge, bob, weave, dash, and block all at the right moments. A true skilled ARMS player can handle them appropriately, which if you've been playing with friends or online, you'll see there's probably someone out there who's got that stuff down. Best of 3 rounds determines the match. The controls for ARMS, I would say, could be considered a gimmick if you were playing with the motion controls. If you're using the Joy-Con, throwing your left arm out will deploy your left arm, throwing your right arm will deploy your right, both at the same time will execute a grab, and tilting the Joy-Con in unison from left to right or wherever you go determine your movement. It's super cool that you get a specific and thorough control scheme, but the motion control is something I just do not recommend. For me, I went with the Pro Controller. However, a big oversight for the controls is that you cannot customize your control experience. Nintendo has gotten better about letting people choose which format they want to play with, but I think the next step is allowing the player to choose their button layout as they see fit. I know they want to make the game accessible for everyone, so why not take it that much further? Blocking in itself is an art form. It's one of the most important mechanics, and depending on the character, learning how to block can be one of the easiest or one of the most difficult things to master. And depending on which character you play as, your blocking experience may be different. For example, if you block as Ninjara, he automatically poofs away, whereas blocking with Master Mummy will automatically heal yourself. Since we're on the topic of dodging, blocking, and movement, I have to say that Helix is my absolute least favorite character. This dude behaves so weird, he's hard to really enjoy in my opinion. He can't jump very high or nimble because he has to stretch straight up first, levitate kind of, and then hover a little bit. His whole being is based on being able to extend himself while remaining stationary and use his whole body to bend out of the way. This is a bit too slow and clunky for me. Not my favorite duder, but hey, respect to those out there who understand how to use them. Punching and grabbing is fine and all, but the real depth of arms comes into play with reading and listening to your enemy. Being locked onto your opponent at all times is great because it shows you where your enemy is at any given moment. But the real challenge comes from the juke and mix-up game. Each character can curve their punches, jump up in the air, dash, charge up your punches, sometimes for buffs and debuffs, and grab. Grabbing someone and slamming them down feels really satisfying. And if you play me online, you'll see that I'll spam the living hell out of that. I don't care if it's a bad idea. I don't care if you see it coming. It feels rad to get bopped. I mean, to do the bopping, not to get bopped. The battlefield at random can be filled with various items that can easily change the tide of the fight. Sometimes, an area can be a temporary zone to regain your health, or build your yellow special meter up. From time to time, there's also a random bomb that can appear and wreck the field. All 10 characters in the game have their own stages that are either a big rectangle or a circular-shaped arena. There aren't any extreme environmental hazards or anything like that, but each stage has various obstacles you can use to hide behind or climb up on. And sometimes climbing up on these platforms can give you the higher ground. I bet Anakin wished he had that capability, huh?
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Alright, let's shift gears a bit and focus a bit more on the main campaign mode. Grand Prix. Grand Prix is essentially the arcade mode. Choose from one of the 10 fighters and climb the ranks to the Grand Prix tournament finals. Most of these fights are pretty straightforward and are designed for you to get to know the character you are using, as well as the character you are currently battling. To break up the mundane battles, matches 3 and 6 are mini games in which you must gather points by either breaking targets, playing basketball, or volleyball, somewhat pseudo-reminiscent of the mini-games from Super Smash Bros. These mini-games are real fun to play, especially as you choose the harder settings. Sometimes, instead of getting paired with a more difficult opponent in a normal match, you can instead skip that fight by beating them in the random mini-games, which are way easier to conquer because you aren't fighting the characters themselves so much as you're using your skills to win the mini-games. When you make it to the grand finals, you'll fight the boss of the game, Max Brass, who will soon become a free DLC character. When you start up Grand Prix mode, you can choose your difficulty on a scale of 1 to 7, and you'll notice that each character has a crown above those difficulties, meaning yes, you'll have to beat Grand Prix mode on the hardest setting with every single character. The upside to this is you'll have to practice to become more skilled as each character, and when you beat the game, it gives you the credit as if you beat the game on every difficulty. The downside is, son of a bitch, the game just became way more difficult, which also means you'll have to play with DNA Boy. Ugh, get out of here. You know what? I'm gonna take the Homer Simpson approach and just take every single punch until the computer tires out and gives up. Oh, that's not a mechanic. Okay, crap. This is gonna suck and take a long time. Upon conquering the Grand Prix, you are given points. In fact, anytime you play any mode and participate in anything, you are given points. Points can then be used to play a minigame which will give you the chance to unlock random glove pieces for each of the characters in the game. It can be random who will receive what items, although it's more likely that you'll get a glove piece for the character you are currently using. Depending on how many points you wager determines the amount of opportunities you'll get for unlocking items. These boxing glove items make the game that much more complicated. You can pick 3 different gloves that you can take with you on deck into the matches and change them out in between rounds. And each glove has a variety of different uses. The toaster, for example, acts as a fire elemental punch, whereas the megawatt is a giant electric ball. Hell, there's even missile projectile gloves too. The size and shape of the gloves vary, and what's more promising is that you don't have to use the gloves as a pair. You can determine which glove goes on which arm, which means there are thousands and thousands of different combinations for everyone in the game. ARMS offers a few different multiplayer modes that admittedly I'm not the biggest fan of. It is fun playing free-for-all, which is a 4-man battle royale, but it gets more complicated when you start playing the co-op team battle mode. Split screening with a friend is a bit difficult because you are tethered to each other, so you really have to listen to your friend when you make decisions to move around the map. And the minute you or your buddy go down, it becomes a brutal 2-on-1 match, and let me tell ya, it's overwhelming to come back from this. There is an online mode for this, which frankly is a bit better because you can see the whole arena, but focusing on specific characters and who you want to go after gets tedious when you are either locked on the wrong player or you're getting attacked from a different opponent than the one you're trying to beat up. The mode is very fun, I'll give it that, but it lost its charm on me pretty quickly. If I had a friend who was really good at this game playing with me, I think that would spice up the whole thing that much more. The mini games from the Grand Prix mode also have their own modes that have single player, co-op, and versus mode variants, but I didn't really have any interest in playing these modes for that long, considering that the Grand Prix arcade mode introduces them pretty regularly. And the last mode available in the game is called 1 vs 100. 1 vs 100, I would say, is the equivalent of 100 multi-man melee from Smash Bros. You can one-hit KO all the different fighters that appear up until the final fight with the 100th enemy named Headlock. This 6-armed machine is brutal to fight. He does triple damage with each hit, and he's not very nice. Headlock also appears as the secret final boss if you play the Grand Prix mode in the higher difficulties. Guys, he is no joke. Now that I've broken and ripped the game apart, I gotta say there's a few things about ARMS that really take the wind out of my sails here. The game is a bit more floaty than I would have liked it to have been. It feels much more slower than it looks, which at first I didn't mind, but the better I got, the more I had hoped that my skill would equate to speed. From the day I started till now, even though I've improved greatly, the game doesn't feel as fast, which makes it hard to have a competitive edge to it. If you saw the E3 2017 tournament, it was really fun to watch, but that was due to the Nintendo community and the commentators who brought the hype to the table. As a spectator sport, the game loses its appeal pretty quickly. With more characters, balance changes, and more stages, I could see the community thriving, but as much as I would like to see the esports community embrace it, it's going to be a bit of an upward battle. Look, I love Pokken, and watching that game competitively is fun, but if that game is struggling to garner a professional esports audience, ARMS has got a huge stretch to reach for. Yeah, boo all you want, that one was bad for a few fronts. The pun and the roast. Go ahead, Raptors, enjoy your meal! I feel like I've given ARMS a pretty fair shot at this point, and as much as I do enjoy the game a lot, for us completionists, the game goes down quite a notch for me in my book. For Grand Prix mode, beating the game on the hardest setting one time will unlock online ranked mode, which is a pretty cool incentive if you ask me. But doing it 9 more times does absolutely nothing except give you points to unlock more gloves. Not to mention you can unlock duplicate glove pieces from time to time, which power up your gloves a bit like a boost. This is indicated by a tiny blue plus logo next to the glove in the corner. To my understanding, there are no triplicates, so every arm can be upgraded at least one time. Beating 1 vs 100 mode with each character also provides no bonus other than points. And as far as I'm concerned, unlocking every glove in the game with every character only makes it so that you can unlock any glove piece with any character. Ultimately, I am sad to report that doing all of this gives you nothing. A big fat zero. That's super disappointing considering that there's so much leading up to the idea of being rewarded. I wish they came up with some kind of golden glove variant where you are rewarded with golden gloves that you can take online to show your opponents that you completed the game. In my playthrough of ARMS, there were 10 full complete playthroughs on the hardest setting with each character on Grand Prix mode, 10 maps conquered in 1 vs 100 mode, 300 gloves collected twice to ensure that every piece for every character is upgraded. So technically, that's 600 pairs of gloves, 120 hours of total playtime, and a huge craving to try Min Min's ramen. Man, that would be a tight place to visit in real life. ARMS as a new IP is a very exciting concept and an ambitious risk for Nintendo that I'm glad they took. But if they just had a little more refinement put into their endgame content, a more public plan for fleshing out their future community events around the game, and just a little more expansion with regards to where their characters came from and what they all want to accomplish, we could have had the makings of another great Nintendo property. But as it stands, ARMS definitely packs the punch. I'm proud of that one. Despite all my biggest complaints, ARMS is a great addition to the Nintendo family. If you're looking for something different than the usual Nintendo lineup, this game is just for you. For the price tag, I do think it is worth it, but the replayability is where I see things starting to get a little bit mundane. Hopefully the online play will keep the community going, and I heard rumors that the devs on ARMS are going to maybe flesh out more of the plot and game modes if everyone buys the game and it maintains popularity for the next few months. So, for the franchise's sake, I hope that actually does happen, but we shall see. And in this case, there's still a chance that Taco Dave may appear in the game as free DLC. With that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of play it.
Play it.
That's all time we have for today, guys. So please, as always, let me know that on today's episode somewhere on the internet, smash it. Smash that like button. Comment on it. Comment on the video. I hope you like what we do. We are going hungry because of the adpocalypse. We spent $400 on this guy here. Taco Dave cost $400.
Best character in the game.
Best character DLC worth in ARMS. Now he was $20 from Target. We love you guys. I hope you liked today's episode. Yeah. I'm out.